All right, let's get into it. Today we're looking at a weapon with, let's be honest, a horrible reputation. It's often called one of the worst machine guns ever made, a jam-prone, unreliable disaster. But is that the whole story? Just one word: abysmal. That's literally how American troops in World War I described the French Chauchat machine gun they were issued. I mean, you can't get much worse of a review than that, can you? And boy, has that reputation stuck.
So yeah, that's the legend we're tackling. The Chauchat is often crowned the worst machine gun ever to see a major war. But why? How did it get that title? And is it actually fair?
And here it is, the gun itself. Now, the official name is a mouthful. Fusil mitrailleur modèle 1915 CSRG. Yeah, nobody calls it that. It's the Chauchat. And you can see right off the bat, it just looks weird, kind of clunky. And trust me, that's just scratching the surface. Okay, to really get the Chauchat, we have to rewind, because this gun wasn't dreamed up in some quiet peacetime lab. No way. It was born out of pure desperation, right in the middle of a world on fire.
Think about it, 1914. World War I has bogged down into this absolute nightmare of trench warfare. It's a meat grinder. The French army is just hemorrhaging soldiers, and they need something, anything, to break this bloody stalemate.
What they were looking for was a new kind of weapon, something light enough for one guy to carry and run with, something that could spit out automatic fire while on the move. They called it marching fire. And here's the kicker: it had to be cheap and super easy to pump out in huge numbers. And they needed it like yesterday. And this number right here, it just says it all. 262,000. That's how many Chauchats they churned out in just a few years. It became the most produced automatic weapon of the entire war. That's how desperate they were. And that right there is the big puzzle, isn't it? If this gun was so terrible, so abysmal, why would you make 250,000 of them? Why would you hand a broken weapon to your own soldiers and your ally soldiers in the middle of the biggest war in history? It just doesn't add up. Well, the answer is all about the huge difference between the idea and the reality. The concept behind the Chauchat was absolutely brilliant, game-changing. The execution, well, that's where things went off the rails. I mean, look at this on paper. The Chauchat was like something from the future. A portable 9-kilo weapon with selective fire, a detachable magazine, the ability to be fired from the hip while you're moving. This is basically the blueprint for the modern squad automatic weapon. Conceptually, it's everything they wanted. But then you take that beautiful idea and you drop it into the hellscape of the trenches, and that dream turns into a total nightmare. The gun was a jam-o-matic. And get this, a French army report found that a whopping 75% of the jams came down to one single catastrophic flaw. And you can see that flaw right here. Look at that magazine. It's got these big cutouts on the side. The idea was, hey, the gunner can see how many bullets he has left, which sounds smart, right? Except when you're crawling through mud, those holes are basically giant open doors inviting all that dirt and grime straight into the guts of the gun. A recipe for disaster. Okay, but here's where the story takes a turn. This is the key detail that everybody misses, the thing that really explains that abysmal tag. You see, there wasn't just one Chauchat. There were really two. So on one hand, you had the original French gun. It fired their 8mm level round. Yeah, it had those bad magazines and other problems, but if you took care of it, it worked. Ish. But then you have the American version. They built a new model to fire the super powerful American 30-06 round. And that gun was an absolute train wreck.
And we're not talking about a simple conversion here. These were brand new guns made just for the Americans, and the manufacturing quality was just awful. Things like the chambers being drilled wrong, so spent casings would get stuck. It was so bad that American inspectors were rejecting 40% of the guns before they even left the factory. Can you imagine? The ones that did get shipped were basically useless.
And at the same time, you've got other countries, Belgium, Greece, Poland, using the Chauchat chambered for their own ammo. And for them, it was fine. Flawed, sure, but it worked well enough that they kept using it long after the war was over. So that tells you something, right? The basic design wasn't a complete write-off. The American model was just a special kind of terrible. All right, so the gun itself was a mess, especially the American one. But, and this is the really wild part of the story, despite all its failures, the idea behind the Chauchat, its whole purpose, that changed everything.
Before this gun came along, you had infantry attacking in these big, straight lines. Their heavy machine guns were way back, firing over their heads. The Chauchat brought the firepower into the attack. This idea of marching fire, of a soldier walking forward and spraying the enemy trench, that was completely new, a total game changer.
And to make that work, you couldn't use those big old formations anymore. You had to change how your squads were set up. And this, right here, is the birth of the modern infantry fire team. You've got the gunner, the ammo carrier, the squad leader, and the rifleman. A small, flexible unit built around one automatic weapon. Sound familiar? It should. It's how squads are still organized today. This new way of thinking completely upended ground combat. Suddenly, it's all about small teams moving fast and putting a ton of firepower exactly where you need it when you need it. The old way of just sending waves of men over the top was on its way out. And you know what? It actually worked. This is a real citation for a French medal for bravery. It talks about a soldier, Carpentier, who advanced on the enemy, firing while walking, and captured 4 machine guns and a bunch of prisoners. The French records are full of stories just like this. When the gun worked, the tactic was deadly. So when you put it all together, here's what you get. Yes, the Chauchat has huge flaws, but it was also the blueprint for the future of infantry. It pioneered the whole idea of a squad automatic weapon. It brought us tactics like marching fire. And it taught everyone a very painful lesson about why you can't cut corners on quality control during wartime. It was, without a doubt, a broken tool, a weapon born from pure panicked desperation. But it was a broken tool that forced a revolution. It made armies totally rethink how they fight, and that change has stuck with us ever since. So it leaves you with this question, right? Can something be a total failure and still change the world? When it comes to the Chauchat, the answer has to be a messy, complicated, but definite yes.